I wanted to go through this document with you called the Asset Allocation Quiz. And this isn't really a quiz, it's kind of more of a questionnaire on how much of a risk taker you are. And this is an essential part of the Google Classroom assignment, which I've given to you. And the point here is that I want you to start thinking about how much risk you can handle when you start putting money away for retirement. Because if you're wise in your early to mid 20s, you're going to start putting money into like a 401k or maybe an individual retirement account. And there'll be times, like the market has done in the last 6 weeks, that'll be kind of hard to swallow. You'll see an erosion of your investments over time. Over a period of weeks, it's basically eroded stuff you've invested into for a couple of years. So again, this gets you thinking about how much can I handle. So I just want to explain this quiz kind of question by question. And for each question, for example, there's a number value next to your answers, A, B, C, D, E. And then as you determine what your best answer is, you can write this on a piece of paper. You don't have to write it on this form. I'm not asking you actually even to even turn this form in. I just want to know where you land on the back side of this page, page 2 at the end. So first question, what investment objective is highest priority for you? Most of you are going to be saving for retirement, long-term wealth accumulation. If you're looking to increase your income, like most retired people might want to increase their income, or to pay for something, you would have a lower score. But most of you probably will have some sort of a long-term investment horizon on question 1. Question 2 is, are you planning on pulling any money out of your 401k in the near future? And when you do that, by the way, there are huge penalties by the Internal Revenue Service when you do that. So that's never a good thing. But some people do start cutting into their 401k as a means of investing in a home or something like that. The majority of you, this is real life and it was your early to mid 20s, you wouldn't be touching that money. How long until you begin spending the money you're investing for your goal? Once again, most of you probably won't be spending that for several years. They just want to make sure that as they're getting a profile on what kind of an investor you are, this isn't something you're going to be tapping into in the near future. So, for example, for me, I'm going to be spending my investment money here probably within 10 years. I'll start spending on that. So that would change my answer. For a young person, I think it's obvious you would probably be in the over 21 years area. Looking at the future, I think my income. So if you thinking about the career path you want to go into and what kind of income you might have over time as far as salary and payment for your career, do you think you're going to go into a career field that would grow and where you would get money or raises, salary raises that would actually be greater than the inflation rate? Again, inflation might be anywhere from 1, 2, 3%, something like that. Do you think you're going to have like a fixed income, and that would mean your income would be that would be like number 2 down, or the letter C down there, remain about the same, as your income wouldn't change much. So I would think that most of you, your income would at least grow with inflation. Some of you might be in career fields that are really taking off and might actually be greater than an inflation rate. And by the way, we use the term spending power when we talk about how your income matches up with the inflation rate. Have you established an emergency fund? And this is something that if I haven't already shared with you, and I will in the credit unit, you need to think about a $1,000 emergency fund for those things that come up that you really hadn't anticipated. Some people, that's just for a start, but Dave Ramsey recommends up to 6 months of income be set aside. So most people are in the no, I have less than 2 months of income in an emergency fund. I'm probably in letter B, where I'm in the 2 to 6 months of income. Man, if you're in the greater than 6 months of income stored in an emergency fund, you're ready to rock. In fact, my investment guy told me, he says, you and your wife have enough money set aside for emergencies. We need to focus on investing here. Okay, letter 6 is where we start getting into that risk tolerance. Number 6, I should say. I am willing to assume more risk in my investments for higher returns. So again, when we talk about risk, Oh yeah, I love the 25 to 30% per year returns. I love to see my money just take off. Well, understand that the greater the return, the greater also the potential for loss. And so risk with investing, risk equals return. Higher the risk, the greater the return. So this is where you have to say, okay, if I don't really like much risk, if I can't really handle much stress, then I probably want to be down in the strongly disagree to disagree area. If I'm willing to roll the dice and I can live with that and stomach that, watching my investments go tanking over a period of a couple weeks or months, then you would be on the high end of that. So this is where you have to kind of decide where are you at as far as your ability to handle risk. Back up here at the top, number 7. Here are some graphs of potential returns over 10 years. Again, when you use the term portfolios, we're talking about someone with a group of stocks. This could be mutual funds, this could be multiple stocks, whatever. And if you're like, oh, I don't like any risk, I want to just have it nice and calm, portfolio A is a nice straight line. Returns aren't very good, but the stress is going to be very low. And portfolio B has a couple bumps. Portfolio C is a little bit more, we use the term volatile here. Volatile, up and down. Think the tremors ride at Silverwood, up and down, up and down. How much volatility can you handle? How much up and down in the market can you handle? And then portfolio D is, this is really going to be stressful. It's going to be up and down, up and down. You can see it's growing. If you draw a straight line through that squiggly graph there, you can see it's growing at a faster rate than portfolio A. There's going to be some stress involved. This is where you have to decide as a young person, how much do you think you can handle? All right? Portfolio A, B, C, or D. And again, you figure out what's the best answer for you. Now here in question 8, we have a bunch of graphs. Letter A has a very low return and no chance of loss. You don't see any negative numbers. You don't see this graph dropping below the 0 line here. So an average return is probably about 3%. Its high might be as high as maybe 8%. And its low is not dipping below 0. So this is a very low risk, low return investment. And you can see as time goes on here, these options change, B, C, and D. We get to D, and if we look at this graph, essentially it's about a 15% average return. Everybody's like, great. A high potential return of, looks like it's somewhere in the almost 50%, 45% return per year potential. But then the risk of loss is more than 20%. This is very volatile. This is can be very stressful, especially in the minus 20%. When you see years of your investing just washed away over a period of weeks when the market starts to tank. C, a little bit less stressful, but still a little bit of risk there. And again, you can see how this changes with those black graph numbers getting bigger as we get below 0 and we increase our risk volatility here. So again, which one can you handle? Which do you think is the best answer for you? And this gives some specific percentage answers to those various figures. Okay? So again, I would just maybe get out a piece of notebook paper, write down your scores for each question, all 8 questions, and then after you've scored each of the 8 questions, again, there's no right or wrong answers, just kind of where you're at and how much risk you can handle, you'll come up with a total number of points based on the 8 questions in this so-called asset allocation quiz. And then down below here, based on your total number of points, total points less than 19, total points 19 to 24, so on, you will get into these various asset categories. And this is what I cover when I talk about market cap, and the term I used was investments, the last word. This is where we get into talking about market cap and different levels of risk in investing. And if you're on the top end, the aggressive growth, then you're a risk taker and you're ready to roll the dice. All right? And this is where something, when I met with my financial advisor here a couple months ago, he said, you're in the aggressive growth area with your state teaching investment plan. He says, I'm going to drop you back to maybe more of a less aggressive growth income type setup. And I'm glad I did that because the market has really tanked since I've moved that money around, and even though I've lost some money over the last couple of weeks, it could have been much worse if I would have stayed with an aggressive growth area. But again, on the asset allocation quiz, this is your going to be your final kind of your final answer. Which category did you land in? Then when you complete the corresponding Google Classroom assignment of the movie follow-up questions and asset allocation quiz, I just ask you on the very last question of that Google Classroom assignment, which of these investment categories did you end up with? And I think I also asked you, is that something you can live with? Does that sound like you, or something like that? I forget the specifics, but that's just a little help to help you understand what this little asset allocation quiz is all about. And I hope that's helpful for you. If you're confused, like I don't know what you're talking about, Reardon, this is really crazy. I need some more information. Either drop me a message or let's arrange a Zoom session and chat about this. Have a great day.